to our next guest right now. John, you want to introduce this gentleman?
Yes, we have one of the founders of thrash metal from New Jersey himself, Bobby Blitz Ellsworth of the great band Overkill. Bobby, how are you?
Boys, this is
Nice
better
to
than
see
the
you, Bobby.
long-awaited Friends reunion. You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. Bobby,
Right
we've done so many things together. You've been on our Talking Metal TV show with Turtlehead doing the great Motorhead classic Overkill, which your band is Overkill, and you've been on our radio show, and you've been on the podcast and everything. Bobby, you're one of our longtime friends of Talking Metal. That you're one of our idols. I mean, God, we're just gonna have to say it.
Yeah, I gotta tell you a quick funny story. I did a interview with a guy over in Eastern Europe one time, and he kept calling me an idol and a legend and all this stuff. And I said, it all comes into perspective when you see me cutting my own lawn on a Sunday. So.
Right on.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
Bobby, I wanted to ask you, John threw out that word thrash. When's the first time you remember hearing the music that you did, that Exodus did, that Anthrax did, being described as thrash?
Oh, geez. I remember the first thrash I heard was obviously Metallica demo. Just the energy behind it. But I think later on from there, because that was, what was that, 81, 82?
But they weren't really calling it thrash at that time, were they?
They weren't. No, they weren't. But the energy was there. So that was the first time I heard thrash. But I think by the time that we had toured, and that was 1986, we were on Megaforce Records, and we did, kind of a three-prong attack over in Europe with Anthrax, Overkill, and a California band named Agent Steel, and it was called the U.S. Speed Metal Attack. So I think it morphed out of there. I don't remember the exact moment I heard thrash, but I say it has to be 86, 87.
Was it a term that you think came from the press, or was it a term that came from the bands themselves? Or don't you really know?
I think it came from the bands. Even in the Exodus, it came obviously out of the Bonded by Blood record, thrashing all around. It was right in the lyrics.
Right.
So obviously, I think that moniker just stuck like glue to, it described movement, and I mean physical movement, not a movement of music, but physical movement. That the pit, the stage diving, the moshing, etc. So thrashing all around out of Bonded by Blood, I think, was the probably the precursor to what became thrash after that. So it's probably as far back as you could trace it.
Right on.
And even the words. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say even speed metal, like you said, that tour with Agent Steel and you guys, that was called a speed metal tour. That term is also a term that I almost equate with thrash as well, right, guys?
I do, for sure. I think I don't know if they're synonymous. Because things have, they've broken down, and there's so many genres and subgenres, and they're more like nuances or characteristics. It's a thrash band that plays speed metal. That's totally acceptable. I get it. Were we a speed metal band? I don't necessarily think so. This was Feel the Fire. I think we were more cut from, our speed came from, the punk rock that we loved that was, down at Max's Kansas City or CBGB's in the late 70s that we just kind of hung on to. For instance, the Heartbreakers or the Ramones. And then we added the new wave of British heavy metal, So, we were more,
right.
Iron Maiden type inspired, but with an energy that was supposed to never quit. And I think that's where it worked. Those two elements actually, they work well together. The musicianship of that movement out of the UK and the energy of punk.
No doubt.
Right on. And you guys gave us a great record, The Wings of War, just about a little over 2 years ago, and Overkill's pretty prompt with albums. I mean, you guys deliver the goods for us fans frequently. So are we gonna see a new record by Overkill this year, you think? Number 20, right?
He who dies with the most toys wins. That's all. That's what it means.
I like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to call it. Oh my God, it's 20 with a question mark after it. Yeah, this will be the 20th record. These are actually I'm on my phone because my computer mic is down, so I can hear you guys. These are the 20th record headphones that I'm working with right now in my little studio.
I was going to say they look. You want to hear something funny? I couldn't get my earphones working, and I had my studio headphones right next to me, and then finally I got these little earpods going. So I was doing this.
This was a go-to when I was talking to Sophia, your production manager. I'm like, hang on, I got cans right here.
I got real headphones. Yeah, I got real headphones. Hey, speaking of, and I know this is out of order of what we were going to talk about with you, but I got to tell you, speaking of album titles, one of my I have the.
John, hold that thought. Let's get the update on the new record first, if we can.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, me? Update?
Yeah, update on new record. Update on new record.
Number 20. Drum tracks are done. Guitar tracks are filtering in. Obviously, during Peter pandemic, we are, a little bit removed from each other. But I think that everybody is making the efforts. Yesterday I spent the whole day with Jason Bittner. Our wonderful drummer drove down from Albany, New York to hang out with me and have lunch because I had a birthday a couple of weeks ago and he wanted to see me. He goes, man, I just haven't seen you in so long. I got to get. So I think that there's still that camaraderie that we have even during these trying times. And I've seen the other guys here and there. But it's, does it have a vibe? Sure. It sounds like Overkill. And are we a thrash band? Sure, we're a thrash band. But I've always thought that we've, gone into different, some people will tell you, oh, geez, every Overkill record's the same. From the inside, the nuances are always different to me. There's always a bit of rock and roll. There's always a bit of punk. There's always a bit of melody. It's devoid of melody. There's harmonies. There's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what is this record going to be? I think it's going to be the next logical step because regardless of the fact that we're, our next tour is going to be playing senior citizens' homes around the country, we obviously still think we're viable. And that's what makes you, valuable in the day, is that, you still think you have it. So we're not, we're not mailing anything in. We're going for it, full bore, balls out. Let's do it.
Right on.
That's awesome. Awesome. So, you know what, Muncie? I'm going to jump into a different topic here. One of our mutual friends, Muncie, just had a big anniversary, and I want you to tell us about his 30 years in the business, Muncie, from skateboard marketing. And you said at one point that he was like the 6th member of Overkill.
Yeah, Munz and Overkill have been synonymous almost since the beginning. I forget what label we were on at the time. It was post Megaforce and post Atlantic. I might have been Spitfire. He started working with us with Paul and Mike over there.
I love those guys.
They were great dudes. They were perfect within the they had a love of the music. That's really what it was. This wasn't like you were dealing with, we came off Atlantic and then we end up, I think we were on CMC with Tom Lipsky and then over to Spitfire. But, and these kind of people had that love of the music. They have the same vested interest that guys like us did. If we're trying to get rich doing this, our plan sucks dick, because this is 35 years in. But the point is those guys, they liked that guys like us and other bands like us were in it for that reason. And Munz came on board, and it was just like it was this instantaneous thing. You guys know Munz. I just got his Dickie shirt, 30th anniversary.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yeah.
Bobby, I got you this fucking shirts. So he says it to me, but I remember him all the way back. And I mean, even when times were lean, and it's kind of come back for bands like us, because I think that there's a truism to what we do. It's not a fake out. It's never been. We like doing it with people who like doing it with us. And Munz is one of those people. So, I mean, when he taps into the radio end of things, and the pride he has with what he does, to say, Bob, we're number one. I got you number one here. I got you number one at CMJ. I got you number one at Hard Report. He loves doing this stuff. So it's more of a bond that is based on the same principles that we had on Spitfire, or that we had on Megaforce in the early days. So I love Munz, I remember a show out in Staten Island. We were playing a place called the Caves. I mean, it was just this.
I remember the Caves.
Side of this. Remember the Caves? Yeah, and it was. Managing. AJ was managing the place. He's like, "I'll get you another case of beer." I'm like, "All right, thanks." I was like, "There's water leaking on the stage," and he's like, "Well, it's just the way it happens here." And Munz is going, I think it's going to blow up. You want me to look at it? I'm like, no, stay the fuck away from the fucking electric service.
Don't get hurt. Stay clear of it.
Don't get hurt, man.
So Bobby, awesome. You put out a great covers record last year, right? Last year. Can you talk a little bit about that? BPMD.
Oh, sure.
American Made, right?
Yeah, just a fun idea. Mark Mengy and I, let's say, thick as thieves when it comes to a little bit of ball busting with regard to me being a Jersey guy and him Long Island guy, which is obviously second class to people like us.
The Jersey, right?
But
no offense.
He called me. I guess it would be 2 years ago, this coming 4th of July. I got this great idea. I'm in the backyard with my kids. We're having burgers. I got the tunes on. I'm drinking beer. And I'm like, don't call me when you're drunk. I said, call me when you're sober. No, you gotta listen to me. So I listened to him, and I was like, by the end of his pitch, I was like, dude, I'm in. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I sang some of these songs in the shower when I was a kid. I mean, I have a little bit of years on those guys. I mean, Mark's 40. I just turned 62. So, I mean, the point is that I grew up around those bands. I mean, I knew, Screamin' Teddy, and I knew, Cactus, and I was a big Mountain fan, and of course, Aerosmith, etc. So for me, it was a no-brainer. It was like asking me to, revisit my youth, kind of a thing.
Cool.
So I think we had, Mike Portnoy and Phil Demmel, were on board within 24 hours after that original conversation. And it was just a fun project, man. And I think, it got released. It'll be a year ago next month it was released. And, everything was starting to look cloudy and dark with regard to the pandemic, and everybody's lives were changing. And should we open the Jersey Shore? Should we open Long Island? What are we going to do? And we were like, I don't know if we want to release this. And then we said, something, to hell with it. Let's release it. It's a fun record. Somebody's got to smile at this. Somebody's got to get something out of this, what it was intended, or let's say the intent we had when playing it. So I really enjoyed the project.
It's such a fun listen. And would you consider doing another one, or was it just a one-off?
I would do another one. I mean, I would take it, and this has actually been talked about. I mean, if you went to Made in the UK, the 1970s, I mean, think of, what you'd have to choose from. I mean, this is, pre-new wave of British heavy metal by about, 3 to 10 years kind of a thing. I mean, I think there's, one of the Rock-a-Rolla was released in 79, right? I mean, so it's kind of like you could pick from, I mean, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, or Status Quo, or get into these like deep cuts of bands that I knew when I was a kid. I would do another one, but let's see what Napalm says. I mean, they liked the results, and there's a distinct possibility, but obviously first and foremost, Overkill.
Absolutely,
right. Bobby.
Nice.
I do want to ask you a question from the past, but first, my wife Emily, she's just such a big fan of yours, and just wanted to say a quick hi. She's like,
Hey,
How are you?
how's it?
It's so good to see
Alles
you.
gut. Alles gut, Nederlander.
Oh my God. How's your wife? I mean, we bonded over the Dutch thing.
Yeah, well, she's good. She's good.
Good.
I assume.
Last time we saw you was at Starland Ballroom live.
sounds
Right,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean,
Yep.
we've seen you so many times live, but the thing I was commenting with Mark earlier is like, it's one of the heaviest shows, and it's so much energy and so much power, but there's also so much love. And I always feel like, even if I get separated from Mark, your crowd, they always take care of me. I always feel like I have like 7,000 big brothers at your shows. I don't know if it's a Jersey thing, but like, didn't I comment?
Yeah,
Like, weren't they all
absolutely.
buying me shots and like taking
Right.
care of me?
Yeah.
And like, not in a weird way, like, in a cool way, but it's like just such a good energy at your shows. Like, I love your fans.
Emily, I tell you, I mean, the thing that cracks me up about playing Jersey, right, is that you can finish the first couple of songs that you run off in succession, maybe 3 songs, and the place has soaked it up like a sponge. And the first words out of my mouth is, Jesus, you get uglier every fucking year. And
more passionate every time. And the first time I think I saw you live,
it ignites that.
and
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
seriously, oh yeah, no, but I tell the story about seeing you guys on Gigantor, broad daylight, right? What year was that? Was that like 2006 or something?
It sounds 7.
Remember
2007.
Gigantor?
Yep.
So that must have been.
Yes.
Where did we see that show?
PNC.
PNC. Also
That was
Jersey,
fun.
but you guys were like you killed it. And I always say that like you have this opposite thing. Like a lot of guys like headbang when they're singing. It's like the bottom of your body that moves. Like you headbang with your whole body. I'm like, it's something about your stage presence that is my absolute favorite.
Don't tell anybody that.
Mark knows you too.
I'm practicing.
Yeah, it's for later. He's practicing for a little bit later in the night. Like
He's
what's
practicing
happening?
for later. Was that too graphic? Mark's nudging me like to leave now.
Don't
I've
say
had
it,
too
don't
much
say
to
it.
drink.
I know.
Good to see you, Bobby.
Somebody brought that up to me. Good to see you, Emily. Somebody brought that up to me once. It's like, how are you moving your hips with your head simultaneously?
Yes!
I'm like, I am.
It's not just me.
I am?
I noted this. Like you have a very amazing stage presence, and the way you move is very different. So it's not just me. See?
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
bye guys. I'll leave you alone. I'll
Bye,
take care
Emily.
of
Thank
myself.
you.
So good to see you.
You're not-
So,
Thanks so
Bobby,
much. Hey, Bobby, I wanted
it's
to ask
amazing.
you, it's the 30-year anniversary of the album Horoscope, released in 1991 by Atlantic and Megaforce. What do you remember about that record? Any memories you can share, being it's the 30th year anniversary?
Yeah, I mean that was a unique time, I think, in our lineage here. I mean, it was the first record where we were not an intact unit. The original members were Rat Skates on drums, Dee Dee Verney on the bass guitar, Bobby Gustafson on guitar, and myself. And Rat left in '87 and was replaced with Sid Falk, who played with Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone. So he did Under the Influence, Years of Decay, and Horoscope. But the 3 guys who were writing songs primarily at that point were Bobby, during pre-Horoscope, were Bobby, Dee Dee, and myself. So it was unique to have lost 1/3 of the brain trust or the creative trust that we were doing. But I think that one of the cool things about it is we added the other guys, Merrick Gant, Rob Canavino, and for some reason, there was no doubt in what we were going to do. But I remember that when we had written all the songs, we put them together, and Megaforce was like, Johnny was like, I'm not 100% sure about this without Bobby in there. And it pissed me off. I was like, what? But this is ego, and you need a little bit of ego to to get over the top at some times. And I remember Johnny had us kind of play the whole record live at Lemoore in front of the Megaforce staff. So that's one of the memories I have. And I remember us coming out and just kicking stuff over and playing pissed off, like it was a real show while Megaforce watched. And, we finished it and Johnny walks over to me and goes, no doubt, we're gonna do this record. And it really, because I think of all those circumstances and all the different nuances that were happening, losing a member, what Megaforce had said to us. Atlantic was involved right now. I don't think Megaforce really felt that way. I think it was more Atlantic, that felt that way. Mm-hmm. And but it Horoscope came out of the cage like like a roaring lion. I mean, that's it's one of the benchmarks in our history, in our lineage. So,
absolutely.
Wow, what an amazing story. I never knew that about how you guys had to do that show to get that record really released the way you wanted to do it. But amazing.
Well, it was a hush hush, but I mean, it's also 30 years ago, and I mean, water's under the bridge. I mean, it's no big deal anymore, but I mean, it was, we had a kind of audition for our contract. But again, I don't really think it was Johnny, and of course it wasn't Metal Maria or any of those. I think it had something to do with Atlantic.
You're right. It was probably at the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was going to say it's a time where the Atlantic was maybe making decisions for Megaforce, and Megaforce wasn't making every decision at that point. Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was sitting in Atlantic with Dee Dee one time. I forget who we were talking to, but it was a suit and tie. And he was giving us all these plans, right? And the phone rang and his secretary buzzed in and he says, you have to excuse me for a minute. And he got out. I looked over at Dee Dee and I said, we're fucked.
Oh, no. Yeah, because this guy's got it. Yeah, here's the deal. You do not, let me tell you this. If I was ever in a meeting at a record company and Overkill guys were in the meeting, I would not leave for any reason. I don't care who was called. That's the key. Do not leave the meeting with Overkill, with Bobby and Dee Dee, or else here's what I think has to happen to a lot of people nowadays. And I don't want to get in big trouble, but I think what you were doing right there, that might need to happen to a few people.
The biggest compliment I ever got, I've been married twice, and my first wife, and I raised her son, and I was leaving the house one night, and he got this on, and I was like, we're going to go? He goes, we're going to go? And he goes, his mother goes from the kitchen, your father didn't live to 45 fighting fair.
Right.
Bobby, you're amazing. So I want to ask Mark. Let me ask this quick question.
Sure,
Bobby. I got a car recently, and I've been driving all around Jersey. Now I'm 51 years old. I never had my own car. I lived in Jersey City. I worked in Manhattan. I just went back and forth on the PATH train. So the thing is that now I'm starting to discover all new areas of Jersey. Okay, first off, Ironbound is, in my opinion, the coolest name of an area. You guys have an album, Ironbound. And I also wanted to ask you just about the early days, like the clubs, because now I'm going to places like Asbury Park and Old Bridge and Sayreville, and I'm places I know you guys like lived in back in the day. You played gigs there. Tell us about two things. Tell us about the early gigs in Jersey and how it was like. And then I'm just curious about Ironbound, because I think that is one of the greatest titles I've ever heard of anything, Ironbound.
Well, congratulations on getting your license in your car.
Thank you. I know.
At 51, yeah.
At 51, yeah.
You're in Jersey City, baby. So you're probably Margaret Haig, which is where I was started my existence, was Margaret Haig Hospital in Jersey City. Ironbound first is it's obviously the section in Newark.
Right.
It's the Portuguese section. I mean, it's where the Devils play, where the Peru Center is. I mean, there's great restaurants down there. It's kind of an ethnic place. I mean, it comes off of the port. The port in Newark was is one of the biggest ports in the world. It's bigger than anything New York has. I mean, it comes into Jersey and then just kind of moves over there and then feeds the rest of our country. But Ironbound came from someone, I think they were in a helicopter or a plane, and they were taking pictures of that part of Newark from the plane. And the person who captioned the pictures said, it's as if the earth is if it's holding down the earth by iron ribbons, and the iron ribbons were all the train tracks coming out of the port. So that's where the Ironbound came from. That's the original.
Wow. I never knew that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the iron ribbons that hold it to the earth, and all the energy that came out of it. And I always thought, you guys know us. I mean, we're Jersey guys, tried and true. I mean, we wear it on our sleeve. We think locally, but we act globally, if that makes any sense. we bring a little of it with us everywhere. So back in the early days, it was a little different. I came. I'm a little bit older, so I got to go to the clubs when there was cover bands all over the place. There's a place called the Soap Factory over in Palisades. Hole in the Wall down by Paramus, Mothers in Wayne, New Jersey. And they were primarily cover bands. And then when we started coming around, it started switching over. We used to be able to go see Twisted Sister playing at the Hole in the Wall, once a month at minimum, and it would be primarily originals, but they'd still play 10 covers and do 2 sets sometimes,
Man.
But when we started looking for places, there was the Dirt Club. Oh my God, where was the Dirt Club? It was somewhere in Bergen County, and the guy who owned it was Johnny Dirt. And I think if you remember it's like an old punk club, but if you remember the Aquarian or the East Coast Rocker, he always had an ad in there. It only did original bands. Then we go to the Show Place down in Dover off Route 10. And it was like, it was a strip joint during the day, and at night, it would be a gig, and we'd be setting up, we were like, I think we'd just done a demo, but we still had a stage set that was theater-esque. We had our own pin spot lights and strobes, and we had built a big castle out of styrofoam that we would use on that stage. So it was that and the Show Place and the Dirt Club.
Was that the place that Metallica played their first gig with Kurt Hammett in Dover? It was probably at that same club, I would think, right?
Yeah, it has to be, because that's when Dave Mustaine went back, and Kurt came in, and they were hanging out with the Old Bridge Metal Militia guys, who were down in Old Bridge off Route 516. And, Dover's whatever, it's 35, 40 minutes from there. And it's a good stage. And it didn't mean you'd have, a ton of people, but you could gain a following. I saw Venom down there. I saw Raven.
Wow.
At this place. Right. So, there was some cool stuff going on in Jersey. But it was also, unified with Staten Island, and you really wanted to get into New York City. And that was the hardest thing to do. We had done a gig at Trudy Heller's. We did a Gildersleeves gig. These were unsigned gigs. But we'd play Staten Island, which is just, a hop over the Goethals. And,
Correct.
Staten Island, we were at Snoopy's. A place called October's. So it started, these original clubs, which would still have cover bands sometimes, started thriving, and that was, I think, the place for us to spin our craft, as opposed to, no, sorry, unless you're doing Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, or Judas Priest covers, we don't want you, which is what Jersey was prior to this era.
Wow.
Right on.
What about Long Island? Did you guys ever go from Jersey to Long Island? Could you get gigs out there?
Well, we got not when we were unsigned. We did some Pennsylvania things. We found some people down in Maryland. We played a place called Coast to Coast down in Maryland, where a guy was doing like original speed metal or whatever the precursor to speed metal was. Sunday afternoons. We were down there with Nuclear Assault. But the
Nice.
big
Oh, wow.
thing was you had to get into here,
The more, right. Mhm.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
You've arrived. Yeah, you've arrived
Yep.
if you're in there and then you get called back for a second gig. And I remember a story, George and Mike, who ran the place. I mean, they were brothers. And also with a good friend of mine, Frank Felice, and I'm friends with his son, Michael. We all, Overkill guys all used to take turns. They had Lemoore in Brooklyn. They had Lemoore East in Queens. And we had these professional press kits. We had our demo, our 8x10. We had our biography, et cetera, et cetera. And it was my turn, and I walk up to George out in Lemoore East in Queens, and I said, "Hello, Mr. Parente. I'm Bobby Blitz. I'm from Overkill, and I'd like to give you a press kit." And he puts his hand on my shoulder and goes, "You're a nice kid. Your band sucks."
And that's not true. That's not true.
Inspirational, if you think about it, right?
Well, it's stuff like
Did he
that
know that, or was
makes
that
you
just
want to
him
even
trying
try
to do
harder.
tough love? Like no, I'm saying, did he really think that, or was that just what he said to everybody who came up to him?
I think he thought it because that wasn't the exact quote. He said, "Kid, you're a nice kid. I got 40 of your fucking press kits on my desk."
Right.
Well, you came out on top, Bobby, and history will record all of that. So you're on top.
Hey, 2 years later, we were the house band, at Lemoore's. I was like, yeah, so.
I'm amazed, Bobby, that you guys were doing that. Like, I remember putting the folders together and the freaking 8x10 and the bio page and the tape and the seat, whatever it came. I didn't know you guys had to do that kind of stuff. I didn't know how that happened back in the day.
Hey, it was social media back then, if you think about it, right? I mean, you had to put together your package, let them know who you are. I mean, it was business. It was also, you wanted people interested in you. I mean, your social media was shaking hands. It's like, hey, don't touch my car. I'm just putting a flyer into your windshield wiper. That kind of
right. I'm not gonna.
Right.
Yeah, amazing. That is amazing.
It was different. It was different ones.
Yeah. No doubt.
Well, Bobby, we do have to wrap it up in a few minutes here, but before we let you go, are there plans for Overkill to return to the road at this point?
Oh, sure. I mean, we're ready. We blocked out the U.S. through February. Blocked out some European shows in March, April. I mean, I got something in Indonesia. There may be something before the end of the year over in Europe. I mean, there's a buzz that's just starting to happen because everything's opening up, and it's one of the big ones. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware of it, but it's
I don't even know.
August to September. And,
nice.
And there may even be a Jersey show before Christmas too.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Awesome. Cool. We would love that. But thank you for spending some time with us tonight on the Talking Metal live stream. We really appreciate it. We wish you all the best, and we are so ready for Overkill to return to the stage.
Every time I see you guys, I feel like playing a Motorhead cover. I'm telling you.
We got it, Bobby. That's my favorite thing that I've ever done, in my opinion. I don't want to offend anybody else, but the greatest thing I've ever done on stage or on any stage is playing with you during Turtlehead, during Overkill. That was my favorite thing.
That was just awesome. And the thing was, I didn't know what to expect. I mean, obviously I knew what to expect from Frank and Portnoy, but I didn't know what to
about us.
From you guys. They had no idea, and you killed it. I mean, you were Filthy Phil Campbell and Wurzel.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Bobby, thank you so much. And we're going to see you, whatever show you book, we're going to be there, and you can depend on it.
Thank you, boys. Good to see you both.
Thanks, Bobby.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Cool. Bobby Blitz.
What a great
Overkill,
interview,
guys. Yeah, so much fun hanging with him always. And we cannot wait for the live music to return. We got Ace coming back. It sounds like maybe a Overkill New Jersey show before the end of the year. Emily, John, and myself, we will all be there for sure. Yeah. John, always great hanging with you.
Here at this place. Yeah, I said
Next
I wish
time.
you could have been here tonight, but I know it was short notice. But the next Talking Metal Live, we're going to do in person. Let's make that a definite announcement. We're going to do it in person. And why don't we just plan it now? We'll do it here. We'll have I'll have a set made up with like 3 stools or whatever we need. And we'll get the cameras ready. We'll get the lighting ready. We're going to rock it out. We'll use we have to thank our crew. Let's thank our crew, Mark.
Yes. Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone.
SDNbroadcast.com, top crew.
Yeah.